Gwata TV gives you a first look at North Central Washington's business news. You'll hear from our local business, tech, and education companies as Jenny discusses hot topics and current events with some of the best innovators and pioneers in North Central Washington.
Hello, North Central Washington. Welcome to Gwata TV. I'm your host, Jenny Rojanasatian. On today's episode, we're going to talk about STEM education, the role that it plays in our schools and through our community, and the work that Gwata is doing to support it right here in North Central Washington. Gwata is a 501c3, and we've been focused on technology and supporting technology resources since 1999. But it became apparent to us in the mid-2000s that we needed to be more involved with our local schools so that we could create clear pathways into technology jobs. So in 2015, we were approached to be a part of the new Apple STEM network, and a grassroots efforts that was forming to build a coalition of partners around STEM education throughout North Central Washington. And when we had that opportunity, we immediately jumped on it. Today, I'm excited that we'll have Dr. Sue Kane from the North Central ESD, who is a co-director with the Apple STEM Network. I am also the other co-director, and we're going to have the opportunity to really dive into what the Apple STEM Network is, what's some of the work around STEM education in our community, and also how you can get involved and support. So stay tuned, we've got a great episode in store. Welcome back to Gwata TV. I'm here today with our special guest, Dr. Sue Kane from the North Central ESD. Thanks for coming on air, Sue.
Yeah, this is so much fun.
It is really fun. For those of you who are just tuning in, Dr. Kane and I have the opportunity to work as co-directors for the Apple STEM Network. But while I'm housed at the Gwata team, Sue is with the North Central ESD. And what is the North Central ESD? What does that mean, Sue?
So the Educational Service District, North Central ESD is one of 9 educational service districts around the state of Washington, and there's a full menu of services that ESDs fill. They're supporting primarily K-12, but some K-20 education efforts, and it might look like supporting a teacher with professional development, learning opportunities. It might look like supporting a district with technology needs. Some of the rural districts, as you go farther north or out towards the southeast, the ESD actually serves all of Chelan, Douglas, Grant, and Okanogan County, and there's 29 school districts that range from 8,500 students to 15 students. So you can imagine that the resources that serve those variable districts, some need more support than others, and the ESD is there to provide that kind of resources and support.
And the ESD's physical location is right here in Wenatchee, but as you mentioned, serving 29 school districts across multiple counties, so quite expansive.
Yep, huge footprint.
Yes, and we're going to talk about STEM education, which is an acronym you and I sling around all the time. Yep. But for our audience, what is STEM education? What does that mean?
So STEM education is the word of the moment, I guess. And science, technology, engineering, and math, this is a concept where it's not necessarily an acronym for like a bullet list. What we want to see is those concepts being taught, maybe the science and the math with technology and engineering kind of as a ingredients list rather than like a bullet list. And it's a different shift. It's, we've been teaching these things in silos for really for about the last 10 years. That's been an educational mindset. And so we want to see those be integrated. And then really when you get all of those skills integrated, you get into some project-based learning that can give kids an appreciation of context. It can give students an idea of what they want to do for careers. And so it gives you some intentions behind why you're learning this thing. So it's not about the facts.
Right, because there's many of us, maybe not you because you're a scientist, who said, why am I learning this math, or why am I learning this science? How do I apply it in the real world? And STEM education taught through project-based learning, as you said, it gives them a context and interest when they're engineering a bridge and learning how a bridge is built. Mm-hmm. They can see the real world application. And one of my favorite things about STEM as well is the how it affects the soft skills, because when we teach STEM education in schools, they're doing it as teams. So they're having to learn how to rely on each other and problem solve and think critically, which are, as we know in the workforce, really key components to success, is being able to work in a team.
Yeah, it does. It teaches those soft skills. There's a whole other side of STEM too that we talk about building non-cognitive skills like perseverance and your identity and your sense of belonging, and these things that are a little bit harder to describe. How you're actually going to get at that. You're right. When you're teaching in STEM and you're using project-based learning, it has the ability to advance all of those things as well. So it's
right. When they engineer that bridge project, sometimes the bridge collapses. It's not just an A+ on a paper. So they have to learn what failure and to learn from those mistakes. And so I think for us as champions of STEM education, I really want to emphasize to the community that not every student's going to go into STEM field, but every student can benefit from the rich experiences within STEM education.
Yep, that is exactly. You and I frequently have a similar mindset on these things. But you're right. I think we talk about concepts of failing forward and figuring out how to use your resources and kind of looking at a situation a little bit differently. And all of these things are great indirect benefits of teaching this way, or maybe they're intentional benefits of teaching this way.
Absolutely. And the North Central ESD obviously believes in STEM education and wants to support that in all of their school districts and also through the Apple STEM Network. And we haven't really had a chance yet to talk about the Apple STEM Network. So let's talk about what is the footprint of the Apple STEM Network and how we're serving students.
Yeah. So when we started this work in 2015, it was there were kind of big buckets of folks that we knew we needed around the table to be able to make something meaningful happen. And educators from K-12 and higher ed had to be there, of course, but also business and industry and government and community-based organizations. And really, the fact that we had a technology alliance that had a mission that focused a little bit on education and partnership in the school districts was a huge launch point for us. And so Wenatchee Valley College was the starting backbone, the founding backbone organization to be able to pull these partners around the table. And we started with Quincy, Kashmir, and Eastmont school districts, and each one of those districts provided us really invaluable leadership as we went through a full assessment of what are our assets, what are our needs, how can we best support each other. The Chelan PUD came on really early as a strong partner, and a number of other industry partners as well, and the ESD and Gwata. And so these folks all went around the table to create that initial footprint. We've since, we came up with a plan of attack, and we've since added Quincy School District as well. And wow, they've brought so many great ideas to the mix. So it's growing, and we're looking forward to that growing. We moved the STEM network from the Wenatchee Valley College backbone organization to the North Central ESD with intentions of actually scaling that footprint a little bit and roping in some of the really strong opportunities that we have in North Central Washington in terms of STEM industry.
Right, and we're really lucky to have that partnership with the ESD because of their footprint across in our region. They create the accessibility and pathway for us to expand. And as you already mentioned, so the Apple STEM Network is serving Wenatchee, East Wenatchee, Kashmir, and Quincy students, but the programs within the Apple STEM Network are open across the region. Yeah. So if you're an educator looking for professional development, we're offering outreach and class opportunities. We're trying to promote scholarships to every student in our area, as well as bringing in industry partners, like you said, because we need workforce in North Central Washington, and we need to highlight that to the students who are growing up here.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we are running out of time for our first segment. As always, Sue and I could talk about STEM all day. But the good news is we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll dive into it a little bit deeper. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Gwata TV. I'm here today with Dr. Sue Kane from the North Central Education Service District. We've been talking about STEM education, which is a passion project for both of us. Yep. So on our last segment, we talked about the Apple STEM Network and kind of the footprint. Let's dive a little bit more into the work that's being done. So if you want to set us up there, what's going on with the Apple STEM Network?
Yeah, so when we set up the work, when we were intentional about where we wanted to impact STEM education, there were a ton of areas where we could have gone, and we identified everything from teacher support and professional learning to how does an industry create more opportunities for students, to everything in between, and a whole lot of community awareness and involvement, and how do we,
Yeah, the community involvement and awareness is really big because, as you just mentioned, we're bringing industry partners and we're bringing educators, but it's the parents, right? We've got to reach parents to let them know why STEM is important, what's going on in their schools, ways they can tap into that. So
thank you. You read my thinking there a little bit, because what comes to mind when you think about awareness is you want those families who maybe don't even know how different education is today, and they're experiencing the differences out in the community in terms of the places that you find technology now, but really putting that together with, we have to educate kids in a different way to make sure that they can fully get into that next wave of jobs. It takes some awareness.
Absolutely, and that's really what the end goal of this work is about: preparation for great careers in high family wage jobs, and that support the industries that are growing in North Central Washington. Because I know at Gwata we work with employers who are bringing in talent to our area, especially in computer science, and there's no reason we can't home grow that talent and allow students growing up here to come back after school or post-secondary training to have great careers.
That's really true. As you're talking, I'm thinking about one of the partners that we're working on right now is we've paired up with a program that Microsoft has called TEALS, and that puts computer scientists directly into the classrooms in high school. And if it's been a while since you were in high school, this is a first period class where someone, a professional who's a computer scientist, an engineer at a company like a Boeing, Microsoft, Amazon, they are actually calling into the classroom and leading the students through their computer science education. And this is a really meaningful experience because you're hearing it firsthand from somebody who's using it that day. That person is using that skill that they're telling the students about. At the end of this course, students are ready to do some basic programming and computer applications, and they also have a connection to somebody who's doing that already, and that's really helpful as well. And what we've been able to do with the STEM network is to support really the growth of that, where it was in a handful of schools. In North Central Washington, we're actually going to see that go into about 22 schools next year.
Which is huge because some of these schools did not have a computer science program.
That's right.
Offering at all. So to go in, especially in smaller school districts where they may not have the resources to have a computer science program, TEALS provides that gap, and like you said, from someone in the workforce. And the other piece that's really cool is they're teaching the educators they go. So it's a 2-year program where a computer scientist is teaching in the classroom virtually, but the teacher is being brought along at the same pace so that they can teach the curriculum in the future, and it's really empowering them to grow.
And then they come back with a mentor support. So even once that teacher is up and running, they still continue to provide mentor support and firsthand knowledge of what's going on. It's a really neat program, and we're excited to see a number of the school districts kind of take that on. And then the next step looks like connecting the dots to make sure that when that student shows up for their higher education, that experience that they've gone through is rewarded, whether that's with college credits or some kind of an agreement that would recognize the skills that student has. And so we're working with partners like Wenatchee Valley College locally to make sure that the opportunities are there. And Wenatchee Valley College has been amazingly responsive to take a look and make sure that we're ready to make that handoff from high school to that post-secondary training. So.
And it really has to be a holistic approach from early learning to post-secondary, because if we just isolated it down into high school, then as you mentioned, then our college systems aren't ready to intake. And so it's quite dynamic and diverse in that we're doing this work in junior high, high school, college, trying to bring everyone together.
Yeah.
And speaking of college, I want to talk a little bit about your new series that you've been leading, Science in Our Valley, and what that work is doing in our community.
Yeah, so hopefully your viewers now are familiar with the Our Valley, Our Future overarching plan for strategic improvement in our region. And part of that, one of the game changers identified there was in creating some kind of a research and innovation district, something that would connect all of the various types of research that's going on in the community. And what was interesting was that as a STEM network, we were kind of becoming aware of some of the places of isolation, and when things are happening in isolation and people are disconnected from each other, it can be really confusing. It can also have negative consequences for the development of young professionals. So I can give you an example of this. A graduate student who might have been working at the WSU Tree Fruit Research Extension Center doesn't have the same experience in graduate school as somebody who's in a four-year town like Pullman. They don't know about all the different types of job opportunities that are out there. They don't know about all the different partnership opportunities. They don't have the same social capital as somebody who's graduating from that main campus. And with some real intention, we started to think about what were ways that we could bring some regular interaction around those students. And the same for the undergraduate scientists, or the undergraduates that don't know they're going to be scientists yet, but have the passion and the skills. Or a K-12 educator who wants to know, how do I put context in my classroom? And so we started to put together a seminar series, and we were given a grant as part of that game changer through Our Valley, Our Future, to provide weekly seminars that feature local research, what's going on. And we started with 20 to 25 folks coming throughout the fall in those. We've had a number of them so far this spring, and their attendance is growing and people are engaged, and it turns out that there's a lot of the community that really had no idea that places like Stamilt were doing research, or that we have the state public health office that's doing research, the WSU Tree Fruit, who has the products of their research are globally commerced products right here in Wenatchee, and we want our students to know about those things. We want the young professionals coming up in those systems to have the ability to connect to the other industries as well. So
the Science in Our Valley series, as Sue mentioned, it's weekly, pretty much follows the school calendar year as far as programming. So holidays, etc. are off, but it's every Wednesday. Location can vary, so you want to go online and go to the Apple STEM Network Facebook, where we're uploading those events weekly. But they're from 4 to 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, free to attend. You get a chance to hear, as Sue said, from scientists locally, and then occasionally we bring in a speaker from outside the area, which has been a lot of fun as well. So just another way to engage in STEM and science in our community and provide some support. Well, we're quickly wrapping up here. We'll have to bring Sue back on soon, but I know we wanted to do a quick plug for an upcoming event in August, the STEM Summit.
So another one of the cool collaborations, the North Central Educational Service District actually provides a week-long summit. It'll be the second week in August. We're anticipating about 400 educators from around the state are going to be coming to deep dive into 4 days of how do you bring STEM into your classroom. If you're a science teacher, if you're a math teacher, or you're just, you have all the subjects and you want to know how to get project-based learning into your classroom. And there'll be a number of other experts from around the, really national experts who are also included. And it should be a really high impact week.
Well, and Gwata's participating with it. We want to provide some additional support to those educators coming through, so stay tuned for more details through the ESD and through Gwata. And with that, we're going to take a short commercial break.
Hey there, grab your phone. I know you're sitting there watching TV with it somewhere nearby. My name is April Welch, and I'm social media trainer with Flirting with Social, and I run Social Media School, North Central Washington. Today we're going to talk a little bit about leaving reviews for businesses through the Google Maps app. All right, so you go into your map. You normally do that to find your directions, right? Keeps you from getting lost, helps you to find back roads or quicker routes. Totally awesome. Did you know that when you go and you search and it brings you that pinpoint on the map, if you flick up, basically taking the screen and scrolling it up, you immediately are given all kinds of information about the business, their hours, their website, if you want to save it, and also it's an opportunity to leave a review. Great place if you love a place and you want the business to get more likes, more views, get more foot traffic. It's a great way to take the online to the offline, especially in North Central Washington where we have so many tourists that come in and are looking for recommendations. And if you're a business, you definitely want to get in there and check out your Google listings so that you know that the information is accurate. If you haven't done this, then that means your consumer is doing it for you. And you do take the chance that maybe it's not accurate information, but usually people that put this stuff in, they're in love with you. So they're doing everything they can to help you get that foot traffic. If you have any questions, you can always find me on the web, flirtingwithsocial.com. I'm April Welch, social media trainer here in North Central Washington.
Thank you for our weekly tech tip, April. We appreciate your feedback. I personally love going down to the Numerica Performing Arts Center. So that's another great Gwata member in our community. They're doing a lot of great work down there, so check them out. As you just saw, we had Dr. Sue Kane from the North Central ESD on talking about STEM education, and we just barely talked about all the programs that are going on in the Apple STEM network. So that's an area I encourage you to go online to read more about. You can visit us at the Gwata website or the Apple STEM network Facebook page, where we're sharing information about our events, the upcoming Science in Our Valley series, as well as the programs we're offering. And there's a couple great programs in STEM that Gwata is leading along with the Apple STEM network this spring. Two I want to highlight really quickly. One is the North Central Washington Tech and STEM Showcase. That's going to be Saturday, May 19th at the Pybus Public Market. It's a day where K-12 students and educators show their tech work that they're doing in the classroom on a public stage out to the rest of the community. And then we're also starting Gwata Coders, a coding class for kids, high school students, I should say specifically, and that's going to be at the North Central Regional Library starting on May 26th. So two great ways to get involved, whether you're a parent, community member, or student yourself. Well, this has been a great episode of Gwata TV. I want to thank you for joining me today, and come back next week. We'll be featuring a guest in either technology, entrepreneurship, or STEM education. Thanks.
Since 1999, Gwata has served as North Central Washington's Tech Alliance. As a 501c3, our mission is to bring people and technology resources together to create a thriving community. Through our work, we aim to inspire, engage, and connect.